Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Tawana Rivers. I am the CEO of the 10K Project, and you are joining us for tonight's Bet on Black pitch, where we bring to you an amazing Black founder who is raising capital. We have with us this evening Mr. Kelvin Harris, who's going to tell us all about his investment opportunity in real estate. I get so excited when it's a real estate opportunity because we know how amazing real estate deals can be. And we also know that real estate deals have the potential to build generational wealth. And that's the whole point, right? So tonight's a big deal. So sit back, enjoy the ride. I think you're going to love this opportunity. The deal is clearly described, easy to understand. And so, I love opportunities like that. And the site, we're going to go to this site. The site is so well organized. All right. So you guys should be able to see my screen. So Kelvin's opportunity, we're going to call this the Forbes Farmhouse development, right? It is in, Kelvin, help me pronounce that. Is it Miccosukee, Florida?
That's very good. Yeah, Miccosukee, Florida.
Miccosukee, Florida.
About 18 miles outside of Tallahassee. So it's in the Tallahassee capital region.
Very good. Minimum target raise is $415,000. The offering includes common shares, the 12% ROI. And look at this offering snapshot. I love this snapshot. So the type of security, common stock, the investment duration, 60 months, your ROI, 12%. The project type is a mixed use residential piece of property. The exit strategy is refinance. And the start date is January 2024. There's nice detail and summary of the project. We don't have to read that tonight because we got the man himself here that's going to give us all the summary we need. There's some amazing pictures. I love the pictures. I love this design. This is my aesthetic right here. Clean lines, open space. I absolutely love this. We'll talk more about that. This information about the company, information about Mr. Harris. He'll tell you all about himself again this evening. We'll talk a little bit about the market. Remember, it said it was a mixed use residential. So we'll talk about that a little bit and what the uses are. We'll talk all about the deal. But okay, so with that, I am going to stop sharing. As you guys,
if you wouldn't mind, I was saying while you have that,
pull it back up.
Page up, yeah, just pull up and just go ahead and play the video if you could.
Absolutely.
All right, well, thank you, Tawana. I'm super excited about this opportunity to present in front of the 10K Project community. Again, my name is Kelvin Harris. I have a company, Kel-Star Consulting, which is a financial services company, financial services, wealth management, wealth advisory, integrated asset management. But the interesting thing with regard to that is my degree is actually in architecture, which I haven't been doing for quite some time. But as life would have it, it seems like I'm kind of going full circle here with with this crowdfunding opportunity that I was fortunate to be educated on when I first joined 10K, and happened to be on that presentation for secure living. So that's what brings us here today. So let's talk a little bit about the Forbes Farmhouse. This is a mixed-use residential facility. I'll touch a little bit on that, but I really want to talk about the historical significance. So some of you might be able to relate to this. So at the end of the day, this is really what this whole thing is about. So, you know, I live in Maryland, but my family, both my mom and my dad, are from the South, specifically Tallahassee, Florida, or the town outside called Miccosukee, Florida. And one of the things that my family is currently experiencing or facing is something that has been happening to African-American families for quite some time. Don't know how many of you know the statistics, but I think coming out of slavery right around 1910 was the peak when African-Americans owned land in this country to the tune of about 14 million acres. Now, that's an interesting time for me because I remember my grandmother was born in 1900s. And, you know, by hearing the stories as your little kid sitting around the table, somewhere between my grandparents and my great-grandparents, who were farmers, at some point in time, my family owned 300 acres in the Tallahassee area. What we own now is nowhere close to that. It's somewhere in the neighborhood of, I would say, 40 to 60 acres. So unfortunately, that's consistent with what we're seeing, because the statistics, as you can see, about 90% of the 14 million acres owned by Black people in 1910 have been lost or seized over time. So what this project was all about at the root was coming up with a strategy or looking at options that will turn that tide and allow us to put things in place so that we have income generating, the properties will be income generating, because very few of us farm these days. And what happens is we just wind up paying taxes on the land that's just sitting there, and then eventually we sell it. So I wanted to give that historical significance. Some people on this call may be or may have gone through that. So at the end of the day, I really see this crowdfunding opportunity as a way that we can kind of stem that tide and begin to hold on to land that we are losing because it's not revenue generating. All right. So with that being said, let's talk a little bit about the project. So again, our mission was to take a 5-acre parcel owned by my mom, but has been in my family for at least 4 generations, and set a precedence, do something with it that would allow it to be revenue generating. Again, using my architectural background, I started looking at different styles and prototypes or aesthetic that I thought would be in keeping with the history, meaning, you know, barns and farmland, but also basically have a more modern flavor on that. So we'll get into something called barn dominium and modern barn style in a minute. Well, actually, it's the next slide. So that's what we began to do with regard to the Forbes Farmhouse. Is from the aesthetic side, we wanted to have it look, you know, probably a combination of the modern farm style and the Scandinavian style, but also have it be a venture or a residential property that was multi-use that could generate revenue. So what we did, we began to focus on things. Actually, let me go back. I think it was, well, yeah, I'll just talk about it here. So the whole idea was to create a facility that would be conducive for vacation rentals, corporate rentals, as well as event space or event venues. So we really wanted to tap in or leverage 2 growth markets, the event space rentals, as well as the vacation rentals. And I'll get into some statistics on the vacation rentals as a little bit later. But again, you know, looking at different motifs to see what would work in that area from an architectural standpoint, but also from an aesthetic standpoint, as well as a functional standpoint. So I had to kind of put my architectural hat back on that had taken off for a little while. Let's talk about the area, because again, when you think of Florida and you think of vacation rentals and things like that, Tallahassee is probably not the first place you think of. But interestingly enough, you know, there's been some articles recently that talks about Tallahassee in terms of its economic growth, where it's actually, at least since 2018, it's been ranked as one of the top cities for economic growth in the state of Florida. So that bodes well. A couple of years ago, they were able to transfer their regional airport into an international airport. So it really begins to speak highly of what's happening in the region from an economic standpoint. And obviously that's very important when you talk about travel and things of that nature. In addition, Tallahassee was voted one of the 150 best places to live in the US. So it's an area that's up and coming. And I think, as it relates to investments, those are the sort of areas you want to be in and kind of get ahead of those curves. And we have that opportunity. Again, so the other benefit of a project like this is since we own the land, that gives us a significant advantage just in terms of the sort of things we can do from a financing perspective, as well as the sort of offerings we can give to our investors, because one of the largest line items with regard to doing these developments or projects, we don't really have to deal with because we own the land outright. Okay, yeah, some of you may know also just in terms of draw, Tallahassee is a big college sports hub. You see here a picture of the Deion Sanders back in the day when he played for Florida State. But they're, D1 and have championships in multiple fields, women's softball, men's baseball. And then, of course, you can see down in the corner there, the Marching 100 from FAMU, my mom's alma mater. So in terms of the draws, the attractions, the economic viability of this area, I just kind of want to set that precedent to kind of make the case that this is a active, vibrant area, and it's only growing. All right, so let's talk about the project itself. So it's really kind of a two-phase, but essentially the funds that I'm looking to raise for this offering are related to phase one, which is just the site development. It's basically a very wooded site. We've started some work because I've been self-financing this probably for the better part of a year. But in order to kind of get this over the hump, I'm looking to, put an offering together to acquire some upfront. So here's our subdivision. We're in the process of doing some land clearing now, so we need to complete that. We're going to put in some irrigation ponds and, a engineered paved road. So it's going to be a fully developed 5-lot site. Now, well, the important thing about that is the county essentially told me that before we do any construction, the full site development must be completed. So that's really the reason behind the need to go the crowdfunding route, to raise the necessary funds to do the entire site development, the roads, retention ponds, everything. And at which time, then we will be able to get a building permit to put up the first structure. So again, here's that area, very heavily wooded. And then, here's our site, our engineering plans right here next to them to show what we're going to complete. Here's my cost estimate just in terms of dollars needed to get that portion completed. So I'll move on to now phase two. Interestingly enough, this is where we're going to actually do the construction of the Forbes farmhouse and do basically a ground up. Now, interestingly enough, we're already pre-approved, or I should say, I'm working with this with another family member, but we've already been pre-approved for a construction to perm loan to build the structure. The county just kind of threw us a curveball by saying, hey, you have to develop the entire site before we give you a permit. So we've already have a pre-approval. It's probably going to change a little bit because we received that pre-approval prior to the interest rates. So we're going to make some adjustments for that. But effectively, once we get the site developed, we're kind of full speed ahead in terms of the construction to perm loan with a local bank who is going to keep this loan in their portfolio. These are the type of loans they hold on to and they do not sell in the secondary market. So we're very excited about that. But again, some of the things that we're going to focus on, the landscape site amenities, again, modern farmhouse design, multi-purpose interiors, which I'll get into in a minute, because we want something that look, feels, and is conducive for vacation rentals as well as corporate rentals. This is it's a 4-bedroom facility with either a bonus room or a theater room. So for large groups, family reunions, tailgaters for football games, and with the pool and other things outside, it's very conducive for all of those things. But additionally, in this front area, the atrium area, this can be used again for networking events, corporate training, small weddings. Again, we also have enough land. So if you wanted to do a nice outdoor wedding, you could. So again, the multi-purpose idea was key because we wanted to design a facility or a residence, but a residence that would put us in a position to generate revenue consistently over the course of the months and years over the course of once the facility is up and running, we can tap into that, the Vrbo, the Airbnb, as well as special events. So again, here's the estimated cost for the construction itself. This is a site from inside, just from the atrium area. So again, we're actually in a position where I don't think we'll actually need to raise money for this. We have a pre-approval. We literally just need to raise money for the site development. But again, the returns, the 12% returns we talked about, and the equity share will be in the farmhouse. So that's what owning the land allows us to do in terms of flexibility in structuring the deal to make it as attractive to potential investors as possible. So here's just a few more views. This is on this side. This is the rear, where we actually have technically it's 2 bedrooms. But this is the upstairs master bedroom with its own private balcony. More than likely, this lower level won't be used as a bedroom, but it'll be used as a game room. So again, there's a lot of features and a lot of different sort of activities that we can accommodate. We see here, the pool area with a fire pit. So we're just looking at those amenities that we believe will attract us, the travelers coming into this area for either a long period of time, over and above what you currently see there with regard to like Airbnb and Vrbo and places like that. Just a quick blurb on the trend of vacation rentals. This is I don't even this is globally. This is in the U.S. So the trend, as you can see, is going from a $7.5 billion industry in 2022 to $112 billion by 2030. So we want to get ahead of that trend and essentially build to suit to support that area. Again, so between the growth in economics, the international airport, like again, I'm here in the DC area, we have the direct flights to Tallahassee now. That wasn't a situation that we had before. From National, you get direct flight to Tallahassee. And again, for those of you who don't know, I'm sure you all do, but Tallahassee is the capital of Florida. So that the whole, economic, political, lobbyists, all those activities are happening in this region, and we can kind of take advantage of that. Just a quick outline of what some folks in the area are doing. Again, so these are older facilities. This one up top is literally a retrofit of an older barn. Interesting, and then this one is a newer structure, but much smaller than ours. So despite that fact, these folks are still commanding anywhere from $600 to $750 a night for these. So I think, we could come in and pretty much, even if we were at that level or even lower, the revenue we would generate, was somewhere between 150 to 200,000 a year just on the vacation rentals, and that's at a 60% occupancy, which is what we're seeing in the area. So you add a couple of weddings and a couple of birthdays to that for an event space, we're already up into 200,000 a year in terms of revenue. So I think this is a very viable opportunity. So again, just kind of to highlight, we're looking at a 12% preferred return, 20% equity share. So essentially on the refi, over 5 years, we're anticipating equity of, at least increase of 40%. We're going to split 20% of that with our investors, and full life cycle of this investment will be 60 months or essentially 5 years, which is when the refi will occur. So I think that's it. I think I covered pretty much everything. So again, as you guys know, we're on the secured living site. That's where you can go to, so currently we are in the test the waters phase, I like to say. We won't start our capital raise in earnest, but we do want to, get soft commitments or pledges now, just to kind of get an idea of where we are, what the interest is with regard to this type of a project. So if you're interested, please go to the site and, again, make a initial non-committal selection in terms of your level of participation. And we'd love to have your support, and I'm open to answer any questions.
Wonderful. Very, very good. Nice presentation, Calvin.